Hey friends, welcome to your week 23 yoga practice. This is going to be a little bit more of a simple, gentle practice for low back pain. We'll do a combination of some mobility, some stability exercises, and some stretching. You'll need one block and one bolster if you have them, or grab whatever props you can kind of improvise with. And then we're gonna get started with a little ramp situation. Putting the block at medium height at the top of your mat, and then the bolster will lay vertically on top of that. You could also do this laying flat on your back, totally fine for the amount of time that we'll be here, and as long as you're not having any symptoms. I still frequently lay on my back personally, but everyone's body is different. All right, from here, lay your back body down onto the block, scoot your hips all the way to the edge of the bolster. Close your eyes down, just take a couple of breaths to land here, to relax your body, to roll your shoulders back. And just tuning into any sensations you feel right away. Notice the weight in your heels. You can keep your toes kind of splayed out to the side or turn your toes straight up to the sky. And we're gonna take some supine heel rocks. So your heels will stay right where they are, and then we're gonna point and flex our toes. And it should feel like a gentle little rocking motion throughout the whole body. And just let your low back release. It doesn't need to clench or hold anything here. So about 2 pulses per second, or whatever pace feels good for you. Just let it be a little massage. You could turn your toes out or toes in and see if that changes any sensation for you. And then big, slow, full breaths. Couple more moments here. Release a little further. Good. Gently slow the pace and reduce the motion until you come to a stop. And send your breath into the back of the ribs and the kidney area. As you're ready, bend one knee up, roll onto the opposite side, remove your bolster. And then for this, we are gonna lay on our backs, but again, you could elevate up if you felt more comfortable. And we're gonna find our block in between our inner thighs. You could go to the most narrow or the medium setting, depending kind of on the width of your pelvis. I think I'm gonna go medium setting. Plant the soles of your feet down, rest your back body onto the mat, walk your heels in towards your glutes. From here, on an inhale, just send that breath down into the pelvic floor. On an exhale, we're gonna squeeze the block between our thighs, push down through our heels, slight tuck of our pelvis, and lift our hips from the mat. Bridge pose. Good, inhale to release down. Exhale, squeeze the block, tuck your tailbone under slightly, and lift your hips from the mat. You could add that nice core contraction and pelvic floor contraction that we've been doing in our foundations class, but if anything, focus on squeezing inner thighs and pushing through heels. Inhale. Exhale to squeeze and lift. Taking out any arching in the low back by finding that slight tuck of the tailbone under. Inhale to release. Exhale, squeeze and lift. One more inhale down. One more exhale to lift, and we'll hold for 3 cycles of breath. So in this class, we're going to avoid a lot of single leg motions, and we're gonna find a lot of stability by strengthening the muscles around the pelvis. One more inhale. Exhale to drop. Bring your hips over to the left, and then drop your knees over to the right. Keep your block right where it is. You could find a little pillow for your right ear or just rest on your right shoulder. Good, so knees and hips are stacked. We're gonna stretch our left hand forward. And then open that page of the book by sliding your left hand across your chest, all the way back behind you. Finding a supine twist. If you need, if your feet feel like they're dangling, you could bring your bolster between your feet, so you're nice and stacked everywhere. So for this twist, we're pointing our baby and our belly forward, and we're just opening through the thoracic spine or the mid and upper back. Good. Inhale to stretch those left fingertips forward. Find your left shoulder facing down. And then open up. Twist open to the left through your chest. You can move with your breath. If it feels better to exhale and point left shoulder down, and inhale to open up behind you, that's great as well. Shoot your left hip bone forward as you do this. So it's important to keep a lot of mobility through our thoracic spine so that our lower back, our lumbar spine, doesn't have to compensate with excessive range of motion. It gets harder as we get bigger. Baby takes up a lot of room, but any little bit can help. Hold this last one. You could also cactus by bending your left elbow or bring your hand behind your head. Anything to peel left shoulder open. Point belly button forward. One more breath. Good. We're gonna gently just take that to the other side. So shift your hips to the right side of the mat. Knees drop down to the left. Block is still squeezing there to make sure our pelvis stays in line and we're not splaying open through the low back. Again, you could stack something between your feet as well. Option for a blanket underneath your left ear, or I like to just rest mine on my shoulder and bicep. Stretch your right fingertips forward. Let your right shoulder dip down. And then open up, slide your right hand across your body all the way back behind you. Again, I like to do either way with my breath. I might switch it up, so find what works for you. Gentle squeeze of that block, hugging baby and right hip forward. And just peeling open through the shoulder and the chest, upper back. Good. On this last one, we're going to hold for a few cycles. You could keep right arm straight. You could bend it to a cactus, bring it behind your head. Really send that breath into the back of the rib cage, down into the low back. And gently release, roll onto your back. Just one more exercise here. We are going to find some internal and external rotation stretches of the hips, because again, we like to keep the muscles around all these joints strong and mobile so that we don't have to extra compensate with our low back. So tight hips or weak hips can cause obviously clenching down. That's why we focus on strengthening and mobilizing. Today we're going to take an external rotation stretch, but it can be a little irritating to your sacrum or your SI joint if you're really splaying your knee out wide. So I would suggest doing Gomukhasana legs. Walk your left foot over to the right and plant the pinky blade edge of your left foot down. Cross your right knee over top of your left. So this is nice because we're kind of hugging everything into midline and not splaying out super wide, but still finding a nice deep stretch in the right hip. You could stay here if you're able, depending on size of belly. You could hug your knees in and hang on to them with your hands. You could still maybe hold on to your ankles. 5 breaths here. Soften your shoulders. Send breath into the right hip for 2. 1, release. Good. Plant your left foot right underneath your left knee. Plant your right foot out to the side and drop your right knee in. So now we're stretching into internal rotation of your right hip. So left leg will be nice and even. Right leg will look a little bit crazy. And 5 breaths here. Let that right knee drop down for 2. Release any clenching in the right hip for 1. Good, and we'll swap them out. So this time we're gonna walk the pinky toe side of our right foot over to the left, plant down, and then cross left knee over top of right. This might be all you have space for. It's still a good stretch. If you want, you could gently hug your knees in towards your chest, or hang on to your ankles, as long as you're not compressing through your belly too much. So still able to get plenty of breath and oxygen down into baby. 4 more cycles of breath in your external rotation stretch. And gently release. Plant your right foot right underneath your right knee. Bring your left foot all the way to the edge of the mat, even further out past it, and then sink left hip down. So left leg is in an internal rotated space now. Definitely a different sensation through the left hip. Breathe here for 5 breaths. Last exhale to soften a little bit more. Good. 2 feet underneath you, roll onto a side, and then come up into a tabletop pose. We are going to find child's pose, balasana. And for this version, I'd like your knees to be a little bit more narrow. If that means we need to prop up onto a block or bolster for more room for belly, you can lay your forearms and elbows onto something like this. As you're able, tuck your toes under and sit your hips back to your comfort level. If you don't need the bolster and you want to fold down a little deeper, that's fine. (360-degree breaths). So not just belly breaths, but into the back body, the sides of the rib cage, the back of the rib cage, all the way up into the chest and collarbones. Good. Walk your hands over to the right. Take a little side stretch. Left hand to plant on top of right and sink your left hip back towards your left heel. Expand the left lung with your breath. And feel that nice side body stretch all the way from the left hip crease, through the left side waist, the rib cage, the lat muscles, the outer arm. One more inhale. And exhale, walk your hands over to the right. Right hand to plant on top of left, and then sit your right hip to your right heel. This time feeling right lung expand and that side stretch all the way through the right side of the body. Big breath in. Exhale, Come back to center and then walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Find a tabletop pose. Stack hips over knees. From here, identify the sacrum, so that triangular bone between your low back and your tailbone. And we're gonna take circles just kind of the size of a basketball, really gentle. Starting in one direction. Again, not your biggest movement, but anything gentle and rocking can feel really nice for the sacrum and low back. And we're still grounded down through two legs, so we're not really shifting too much side to side. Switch the direction of your circles. And let your body soften here. Release any unnecessary tension. Good. As you're ready, we're going to come to stand at the top of our space. Take your time getting there. And we're going to do those same motions in standing. So first feel both feet grounded, either hip width distance or a little bit wider. Hands to your hips, and then like a hula hoop, we're just going to take little kind of pelvic circles. You can focus on your sacrum again, on your tailbone, or just your pelvis in general. Switch the direction of your circles. Again, if this feels like any type of uncomfortable shearing, just either reduce the size of your circles or take it out altogether. Couple more. Good. Grab your block. Bring it between your inner thighs, just like in our bridge pose. And here we could come to the most narrow setting and step your feet into hip width distance apart. On an inhale, stretch your arms high to the sky. On an exhale, sit into Utkatasana chair pose as you squeeze the block between your inner thighs, sitting hips all the way back and down. Inhale to stand and straighten. Exhale, squeeze and sit back. Hug lower ribs down to hip bones, so we're not arching through the low back. You could even slightly tuck the pelvis under. Inhale to stand. Drive through your glutes to extend hips forward. Exhale, squeeze the block. Slight tuck of the tailbone, sit back into chair pose. Inhale, stand. We're doing 10, I think this is 5. Exhale, sit. Inhale, stand. If your arms are getting tired, exhale, sit. Keep them there. Work through that sensation. If it feels unbearable or distracting, inhale, stand. Exhale, you could bring hands to heart center. Inhale to rise. Let's do 3 more. Exhale, squeeze inner thighs, sit into your chair pose, nice and strong through your legs. 2 more. Inhale, stand and straighten. Exhale, squeeze, sit into chair. 1 more. Breathe in. And breathe out all the way to your depth. Extra breath in here. Extra breath out. Good. Come to stand. Remove your block. Place your hands on your pelvis, on your low back. Close your eyes and just feel. Let any sensation of muscular discomfort slowly ease as we find this period of rest, knowing that it will pass. Good. Blink your eyes open, and we're going to take kind of the opposite movement. So that strengthened the inside of our pelvis. Now we're going to strengthen the outside of our hips in our chair pose. So sit your hips back towards your heels. Take a Utkatasana. Now we're bringing hands to the outsides of our thighs. Okay, so inhale for a tall spine. Lengthen your chest out, and then exhale, push your knees out into your hands. We're gonna stay in our squat. Inhale, release the push. Exhale, drive knees out into hands. Just 3 of these. 3 more. Inhale to release the knees. Sit a little deeper. Exhale as you push out. Nice and even through both sides. Feel equal pressure in your hands. Inhale, release. Exhale, sit a little deeper. Push knees out into hands. Good, one more time. Inhale, gently release. Exhale, last push out, and we're holding for an extra breath. In, extra breath out. Good, come to stand. 2 feet. Take out any wiggles, and just stay in stillness. Close your eyes. Notice those intense physical sensations leaving the body, slowly but surely. But then feel the stability of the pelvis and low back. Feel all your muscles supporting it. Good. Come over to a wall or to a dresser, whatever you have. We're going to find a right angle pose. Walk your feet back so that as you bend forward, your hands can come to the surface and your hips or your legs and your torso make a nice right angle. Just kind of tractions out the low back. Shift your weight over your heels and then really dip your chest low. Big full breaths here. So you can have your hands on top of something like I am, or you could totally just have them on the wall and kind of energetically sliding them down. If it's not a perfectly right angle, no worries, just something that feels nice and releasing for the low back. Breath reaches its way down to your pelvic floor, belly, back body, sides of the ribs, upper chest and collarbones. 3 more cycles. Lengthen through the spine for 2. And 1. Come back to stand really slowly. Again, find your posture, find your Tadasana, just stand. Roll your shoulders down your back body. Feel both feet grounded and stable and supportive. Good. Bring your toes out a little bit wider, your stance out a little bit wider. And we're going to sit into Malasana. If this hurts the low back, think about bringing your feet in maybe a little bit closer and using a block for support underneath your sit bones. So this is great. This kind of avoids that excessive external rotation, but everyone's different. Everyone has sensations for different reasons. So find a stance that works for you. And here we're softening pelvis into the support of the block. Hands are resting, elbows are resting on our knees. Soften through the pelvic floor on your inhales. And exhales, no contraction. We're just relaxing here. Take a quick little scan of your body. Maybe close your eyes. Notice anywhere where there's excessive tension that you could just drop. Soften into those areas. Three more cycles of breath. Sit bones get melty, low back releases, lengthens down. Good. Remove the block, come to tabletop. We are going to shift into 3 exercises, which are really, really good for low back pain. I did them every day for 6 months before pregnancy, just because I was dealing with a little bit of discomfort, and they helped a ton. We have gone through more detailed explanations of the forms and importance of these exercises in our foundations class, so hopefully this is familiar to you, but we're going to start with bird dogs. On an inhale, lengthen your spine. On an exhale, pull the core and pelvic floor in, lower ribs down to hip bones, nice and stable back as we extend our right leg back. You could have your toes down for balance. You could lift your heel up towards the sky. And then option to come onto left fingertips or reach left hand all the way forward. Breathe in to extend long instead of lifting high. Exhale, tap left hand and right toes to the mat. Good, breathe in here. Exhale, pull everything in and lift. Inhale to release left fingertips and right toes. Exhale, pull everything in, spine is nice and stable, and find that gentle lift if possible. Let's do one more inhale to release. Exhale, lower ribs to hips. Spine is your stability as you lift right heel and left thumb. Good. Right knee under right hip, left hand under left shoulder, tabletop pose. And then we'll switch it out. So on an inhale, feel your shoulders roll down your back. Crown of the head reaches forward. Exhale, we either walk left toes back with support on the mat or lift all the way, heel to sky. Taking out any arching in the low back, you can walk right fingertips forward or lift up. Breathe in here. Find that length, that stretch. Exhale, release right fingertips, left toes. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, core and pelvic floor is on, spine is stable, lift up. Inhale to release. 2 more, exhale to lift. Whatever that looks like for you. Could just be one leg and not the arm. Inhale, let go. Exhale, last contraction here. Good, tabletop pose. 2 hands and 2 knees to the mat. If it feels good, take a little shift side to side or a little cat-cow. At this point in pregnancy, it might feel good in your cat-cows to just emphasize opening up through the chest instead of really dropping the belly. If that feels like a big stretch. Again, everyone's different. Good. As you're ready, we're going to come down into a side plank, modified version today. Drop your right elbow and right knee down to the mat. Find that nice straight line from knees to hips, up to shoulders. And then feel your low back. Is it squishy or is it overly contracted? So if it's doing most of the work here, you could think about turning the top of the left hip down slightly. So it's a little bit more of a front plank motion. We're here for 10 breaths. You could place your left hand on your belly, on your baby. Take a peek down. If you ever notice any unnecessary pressure on the front abdomen, you could elevate your elbow up to a higher surface, and that makes this easier. We're here for just a few more breaths. Push right elbow down, slight tuck of the left hip bone down. Low back is relaxed. Release, and we'll switch sides. So roll onto your left elbow and left knee. You could could start with that nice straight line from knees to hips to shoulders. Lift your hips forward and up. If you feel like this makes you arch through the low back or overly tighten, you could find a little front plank, side plank variation by rolling your right hip down slightly. Okay, 10 breaths. Again, feel your belly. Notice if there's any excess pressure on the front abdominal wall. And if there is, place your left elbow onto something higher, even onto the wall. Your inhales expand through the back of the ribs, and then your exhales, we're drawing low ribs towards hip point, so avoiding any flaring open of the rib cage. Lift a little higher through your left hip, 3 more breaths. Good, gently release. Lay onto your back just one more time today. And we're gonna find our dead bugs, which we've done before, and of which there are a million variations. If you need to ever take a more supported variation, we've done these in our foundations class, but instead of lifting the legs all the way up, you would have one leg grounded, and instead of totally lifting the leg up, you could just slide it in and out. You can take out the arm movement, just meet your body where it's at. I will show the full variation, I guess, today, but take what you need. And if it feels good, you could, where's my towel? Roll a small towel underneath your low back. That tends to feel nice. All right, as you're ready, lift your knees up to 90 degrees. Shins are parallel with the sky. And then arms lift up, palms are facing each other. All right, squish your low back into that towel. Core is turned on here. Inhale. Ride the whole exhale as you lower right thumb and left leg down. And bring it back in. Inhale and center. Use the whole length of your exhale to lower left thumb, right heel, and back to center. Center line of the body is super stable. Inhale. Exhale, push low back down, release left heel and right hand. So opposite arm and leg, keep going with your breath. Inhales to prepare, exhale, find that bracing of the belly as you move through your limbs. Let's do 2 more on each side. Face is soft, neck is soft, shoulders are soft. Good, as you come back through center, let it go. Big breath in, big breath out. Roll onto a side. Take as much time as you need to come to a seat. We'll start to kind of slow down here. Those were 3 amazing exercises that I would do a couple times a week if you're having low back pain. All right, let's extend our right leg long. Bring the sole of your left foot down into the mat so your kneecap is pointing up to the sky. We're gonna wrap our right arm behind us, fingertips down for a second spine support. Left elbow into left knee. So just a gentle twist here, and we can push left knee into left elbow for a little bit of inner thigh engagement as we peel right shoulder open. Notice plenty of room for belly, but feel that nice twisting sensation still through the upper spine. One more inhale to grow taller. One more exhale to twist a little deeper. And come back through center. Extend your left leg long, plant your right foot down, kneecap is up to the sky. Right elbow to right knee, left hand behind you for support. And then find that gentle twist and the gentle push of your right knee into your right elbow. Big breaths into the belly, and then big expansion across the collarbones. One more inhale for a tall spine. One more exhale to enjoy that twisting sensation. Good, come back through center. Plant both feet, knees are bent. Fingertips are behind you, pointing towards your glutes. And then on an exhale, find a reverse tabletop. So pushing down through hands and feet, driving through your glutes to lift your hips high. 3 breaths. Strengthening the posterior, the back chain of our body. One more inhale. Exhale to slowly let go. And then just drop your knees side to side. You can walk your feet out wider. Little windshield wiper, internal and external rotation of the hips. Gentle rocking of the low back. Couple more cycles of breath here. Last chance to release any tension in the low back. Slow that movement down. Rise up into a stacked spine in any seat that's comfortable for you. Close your eyes down. And then just notice sensation. Send one more loving breath down into this area. Exhale, open your mouth, let it go. And blink your eyes open. You're welcome to do multiple rounds of some of those exercises. You'll notice this class was a lot more about stability and strengthening. So it wasn't as feel good and flowy, but in pregnancy with our ligaments becoming a little bit more lax, it's important that we focus on that structure and stability. So I hope that does make you feel more supported. These definitely help me when I'm having SI joint discomfort. So please remember these, revisit this class as much as you need. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.